Hello everybody, good evening. Welcome to this OKclarity presentation. If somebody could just give me please a thumbs up to let me know that we are live and they're hearing me okay, that would be great. Thank you, Sarah. Okay. So we will give everybody just a minute or so just to join this OKclarity live, and then we will get started. Okay, great. So welcome everybody. My name is David Spinka and I'm a therapist in New York specializing in adult anxiety. So the topic tonight is dealing with difficult people. I'm sure nobody here has to deal with difficult people, but occasionally I'm sure it does come up. Now, sometimes we are the difficult people. And that's a whole topic for a different discussion. But tonight I want to talk about how do we deal with difficult people. Now, most people will say, try to avoid them. As best you can, set up boundaries, don't let anybody disrespect you or speak not nicely to you. Just cut them off, remove them from your life, associate with people that bring you joy and uplift you. And of course, that's a great idea in theory, but in practice, we all are going to come across people that we have a hard time getting along with. And the closer the relationship is, the more challenging it is. So if you have a friend, a colleague, a roommate, somebody you work with, a boss, that's going to be all different types of challenges about how we deal with what we call difficult people. I'm not going to define difficult people because I think most people here listening will have an inclination of what that feels and looks like. Most people have somebody in their life that just triggers them, that rubs them the wrong way, they have a hard time getting along with, and they have to interact with them. Like I said, the closer the relationship is, the more challenging it is. It's easier if it's a distant friend or a colleague or somebody at work that you don't have to interact with, that's one thing. But what if it's a family member? What if it's a parent, a sibling, a spouse? A child we're going to deal with in a different time. We're not right now going to be talking about children so much. It's more how we interact with adults. But the truth is that it's not feasible or practical just to remove people and set up boundaries. Yes, we can learn how to be more assertive, as we'll talk about. Yes, we can learn how to respond appropriately to them. But just to cut people out is not an option. Most people, like I said, have one or two at least difficult, challenging people that they interact with. So I want to discuss a different approach tonight that maybe a lot of people won't normally take or hear. And I want to start by quoting an example of something that happened to me when I was in graduate school, right at the beginning of my training, over 10 years ago now, wow. So I was in graduate school and a professor was doing a class on something and was doing a presentation, and he purposely was trying to trigger our students. And it was a bit of a controversial topic. I'm not going to go into it right now, but a lot of people were triggered and they really were not happy with the way the professor was presenting it. And at the end, he obviously left a lot of time for us to process and to debrief. And some people got very upset with him. And I remember there was one girl in particular who stood up in class and she really started screaming at him. She was really laying it thick and saying, how dare you, do this to us? And this is a very difficult topic for us to be talking about. And it was very uncomfortable in the class. And most of us were sitting there just like really, I guess, feeling bad for the professor. Maybe some of us understanding her. But she was really very, very intense with her response. And I remember looking at the professor and just seeing he had this certain aura of calmness about him, where he was almost just letting her have her, outburst, express herself. And then he calmly let her finish. And then he addressed her. And he spoke to her. And he first of all validated what she was feeling. He actually took on some of the points that she mentioned. And he calmed the situation down very quickly. So I want to talk tonight about a different approach to how to deal with difficult people. Dealing with difficult people is not about them. Let them be difficult. The whole focus and goal is going to be about us. How do we maintain our calm in the storm? Yes, there will be a place, like I said, for being assertive, for potentially, setting up clear boundaries, and maybe in some cases, no longer having a relationship with certain people. But like I said, that's not always possible for a lot of people. So we want to learn how can we almost separate ourselves a little bit from a situation. We all have an inner sense of calm in our core, in our center. And that can get thrown off very quickly and very easily. And it's very hard to do. It makes a lot of sense that we often get really rallied up by certain people. But like I said, the approach I want to discuss tonight is about letting people have their difficulties and judgments. Sorry, just one second. I'm going to shut off the air over here. 1 second. Let's see if that works. Sorry about this. Okay. Anyway, where were we? So yeah, the approach tonight we're taking is about understanding how we can let people have their judgments, let people have their reactions. Our goal is going to be to work on ourselves. We all have this natural inner calm state that we can learn how to come back to. And it's understandable that we can get thrown off at times. But what I want us to think about is how can we learn how to strengthen ourselves so that we can almost become impervious to other people's emotions. Now, it's natural, right? When we're around people who bring us joy, who uplift us, we feel better. When we're in a room and the room is very negative and people are feeling, overwhelmed or they're stressed, we pick up on that energy. We're human beings. It's natural to be affected by other people's emotions. And like I said, that's why, of course, we want to invest in good relationships that are uplifting for us, that are supportive for us. But like I said, that's not always going to be possible. So we want to learn how to strengthen our resiliency muscles, learning how to separate ourselves a little bit from the people around us. So I just want to do a quick intervention, whatever you want to call this right now. I'm on a phone right now, okay? So I'm going to start tilting my phone from side to side. Now, I apologize if you're on a computer. Hopefully you're not driving right now. For most people, this is going to be a little bit uncomfortable. I know it definitely is for me. Okay, so I'm feeling a little bit dizzy. I'm going to continue and do the same thing, but this time I'm going to focus on my own body, my own sense of inner calm. I'm going to try to follow and listen to my breathing. Okay? So the phone is still shaking. The room still feels like it's spinning. But I'm focusing on my own breath. I'm focusing on that inner calm center that I have. And I can feel it being extremely different. Okay, I'm going to stop making everybody dizzy right now and come back to the hopefully relatively steady room right now. So, like I said, it's natural to be thrown off by other people. But imagine if you are interacting with somebody who's an adult and then a child walks in the room and starts to throw a tantrum. You're not going to deal with the child the same way you deal with an adult who's throwing a tantrum. But there is a certain power in taking that step back and letting them have it. You don't interact with somebody when they are at high levels of emotional arousal. Just like with a child, you let them have their tantrum, even if it's embarrassing. Like I said, we'll talk about kids at a different point. And you only intervene afterwards. So the same thing with a difficult person. The first step is learning how to step back, not to focus on them. Let them be difficult. Importantly, there's another really important point here. Let them have judgments about us. We are so overwhelmed with people pleasing, making sure that everybody likes us, making sure that nobody thinks that we are judging them in any way or that they're judging us in any way. Learning how to tolerate judgments from other people is an extremely important life skill. It's hard. It's hard to do, but it's really important. So like I said, that first step is let them have their judgments. Now, I'm talking about when you're in the heat of the moment of something. Something is happening and you're interacting with somebody and you're feeling overwhelmed. Take that opportunity, like I said, to take a step back. Rather than focusing on them, zoom out and connect with your own body. Connect with your own breath. Notice where you're feeling that tension. Notice where you can locate that calm inner center. Some people like to focus on their breathing. Other people like to, like I said, just do a quick body scan. Just notice where they're feeling any tension on their neck, on their head, on their chest. This is all when something is happening in the moment. But I think it's a really important point here is that when we are interacting with people who we find challenging, who are difficult to deal with, we want to plan ahead. We want to cope ahead and prepare. This is probably the single most important piece that I'm going to talk about tonight. Walking into a situation and being stuck and feeling yourself overwhelmed and triggered by this difficult person is going to be hard to interact calmly and to regulate your emotions. But if we go ahead and ahead of time and we plan and we cope ahead and we imagine what it will look like to interact with them and we practice and prepare for that, we'll be able to cope a lot more effectively. So what does cope ahead look like? So on a very simple level, it's before you interact with this person. Having a quiet time, just yourself, in front of a mirror if you like. It could be writing something down on a pad and paper or your phone. I want you to imagine yourself interacting with this person. And I want you to imagine it going to terrible, really horribly. They start to treat you not nicely, speak in a not nice way to you, and you notice yourself feeling really frustrated. You can feel your heart rate starting to rise. A lot of people, when they talk about coping ahead and planning to interact effectively with somebody, they go straight to the positive mindset. Everything working out well, me being super calm. But the reality is that we're not always going to be that way. So I want you to first think about ahead of time what it's going to feel like at the beginning when you start to lose your control, when you start to feel off and you're not centered at all, and you start to feel triggered. Like I said, for me personally, one of the things that happens, my chest starts to tighten as I feel that stress. And then I want you to imagine taking a step back, taking a couple of deep breaths, and trying to remember, okay, they're over there. They're almost like a child having a tantrum. I'm over here. And I want you to then imagine yourself returning to that calm center and coping effectively. What does coping effectively look like? So of course, for every person, every situation, it's going to look different. For some people it will look like simply stating the simple request that you have from them. When people are interacting in ways that are triggering us or that are very difficult to deal with, we want to keep things extremely simple. Stick with a simple request. As they're trying to kind of turn things into all kinds of mountains and to take you off track, and to blame and to generalize, stick to the task at hand. What is it that you want or need? Or what is it that they want or need that you can simply say yes or no to and move on? Okay, so I purposely want to keep tonight's initial, presentation short so that I can leave room for questions. But I just want to review some of the points that we mentioned tonight. We spoke about how hard it is to deal with difficult, challenging, triggering people, but we also spoke about how it's inevitable. It's going to come up. Of course, if people are in abusive relationships or in abusive situations, we may need to use some more specific and clinical interventions. But even in the meantime, even with those people, and even in regular everyday people, we're going to come across people who are overwhelming us, who are difficult to deal with. And we want to learn how to separate ourselves from them. Let people be difficult. Let people have judgments. Let people have tantrums. The goal is not to focus on making them less difficult. The goal is learning how to put some space and distance between their reactions and my own reactions. Learning how not to get swayed when the phone starts to go all over the place and the room starts to feel dizzy and I'm temporarily thrown off. Learn how to come back to that calm center. And we also spoke how important it is to prepare ahead of time. Cope ahead. Imagine yourself before you're interacting with this difficult person, getting thrown off, getting triggered, feeling overwhelmed, and noticing how you feel thrown off, and then taking that step back, connecting with your breathing, connecting with your body, connecting with something external in the room, and bringing yourself back to that calm center and coping effectively. And we also spoke about how important it is to keep things simple and straightforward. You may have to repeat yourself. If it's a request, if it's a way to be assertive, to say no, to say yes to something, keep things simple, and you may have to repeat things, and then you may actually have to walk away at times. But like I said, the key is learning how to separate yourself from somebody else's interactions, let them be them, and you return to your calm center. And your own inner calm, wise mind center will help you figure out what it is that you need to do. Now, will this work all the time? Of course not. Like anything, this is a skill that we can practice, and hopefully with time, we will improve it. But that's the takeaway that I want you to take away with tonight. I want you to think about one person that you often have a difficult time interacting and dealing with. One person who seems to just rub you the wrong way, who seems to always be just really triggering and challenging to deal with. And I want you tonight, when this Instagram live finishes, to take 5 minutes to just imagine yourself going into a situation with them where you're interacting with them and feeling overwhelmed, feeling frustrated, feeling triggered. And then I want you to imagine yourself taking a step back, connecting with your own breath and your own body, and imagining them almost as a child having a tantrum and feeling that inner strength, inner resilience, inner self that's almost impervious to their reaction. And think and feel about what it means to cope effectively with them and keep things simple. and let's see what happens. So of course there's a lot more to be said on this topic, a lot more skills and practical skills to learn. Like I said, assertiveness skills are going to be really important, learning how to advocate for myself while remaining respectful and keeping my own self-respect, learning how to say no. These are all important skills, and absolutely interacting and surrounding myself with people who are supportive, caring, loving, and easy to get along with is great. But when it's not always so challenging, let's prepare ahead of time, let's cope effectively, let's let them be them, let's focus on returning to our calm center and learning how to cope effectively. Okay. Any questions for tonight? If people want to give any particular scenarios or cases or things that have come up, I'll be happy to take any questions, and we could talk them through and see how that could apply to this situation. Of course, with a talk like this, it's so generalized, and every particular case will have to be taken on its own account. And of course, there are extreme circumstances that we have to use completely different skills. But hopefully this was helpful tonight, just reminding ourselves, okay, let other people be them, let them be difficult, let's tolerate the judgment, let them have their judgments, and let me be calm, let me be strong, let me build my resilience, and let me learn how to return to that center so I can cope effectively. Okay, I'll just give it another minute or two, just to see if anybody has any other questions, and then we will end the live feed. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining tonight. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to contact me at OKclarity and at davidspinka.com, and have a wonderful night. All right, take care everybody. Let me just end this.